So Level 8 friends, how are you today? Welcome to this month's presentation on the 13th chapter of the Gospel of John. You remember last year, each week we gathered, we would look at a different part of the Gospel of John and how we were called to live that out. Our work in preparing for confirmation is to come to know this Jesus who loves us so much and then hopefully be like him in the way we live our lives. And so we continue a little bit of where we left off last year and now kind of look at how we can live out this Gospel of John as confirmed members of the church. So I'd like you, if you could, just to stop for a minute, and if you could get your Breakthrough Bible and just go to the 13th chapter of the Gospel of John. All right, put pause on the video for a sec and just go find that chapter. I left my Bible in the church, believe it or not, so I'm going to work off a phone. But if you could, find that Breakthrough Bible, okay, and turn to the 13th chapter of the Gospel of John. Okay, I'm going to read it aloud, and you just pray with me quietly, okay? So the Lord be with you, and this is a reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. And when we do that, we say, "Glory to you, O Lord," and may it sound across on our forehead, on our lips, and over our heart. Before the feast of Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to pass from this world to the Father. He loved his own in the world, and he loved them to the end. The devil had already induced Judas, son of Simon the Iscariot, to hand him over. So during supper, fully aware that the Father had put everything into his power, and he'd come from God and was returning to God, he rose from supper, took off his outer garments, and he took a towel and tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and dry them with the towel around his waist. So we begin with this 13th chapter of the Gospel of John, and in this presentation we're going to show you some different ways that we're called to live out this gospel. We traditionally call this the washing of the feet, and I'm outside this thrift shop, which I'll tell you more about in a minute, and I'm here by all of these shoes. All right, one of the big sellers in the thrift shop are shoes, and believe it or not, that's a good symbol for us today, because we're going to talk about this washing of the feet, which isn't just about a physical washing, but it's about our call to serve one another, to love one another like Jesus does. And sometimes that means washing feet. It means sacrificing. It means doing some of the things that are a little bit tough for the sake and for the good of the other, even when it's a sacrifice for us. You know, these shoes here, today I'm recording this on a Monday. By Wednesday, they'll all be gone because people will have come here who are in need, either through the thrift shop or through the street ministry, and they'll get the shoes they need so they can continue walking and they continue journeying and continue living their lives as best they can. That's our mission, like Jesus did, to help people to take those next steps. That's what the washing of the feet is all about. So get ready to learn a little bit about some of our social teaching, especially those Corporal Works of Mercy, how we live them out here at St. John's, while it might be hard to let people wash our feet, and how we pray about this as church. So let the journey begin.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Lapham. I'm one of the small group facilitators for our confirmation preparation program. And I just want to start off by saying, we miss you guys terribly. That positive energy and that enthusiasm that filled the auditorium every Monday night last year before the pandemic, it was just awesome. And hopefully we'll be there together again sooner rather than later. But until then, we're going to share our faith and we're going to grow our Christian communities via technology. And it's different, but a blessing nonetheless. And here I am over at St. John's, and I'm here with the statue of Mother Teresa, because there's really no better role model of how to love one another and how to take care of the needs of those around us than her. We as Catholic Christians have an obligation to live out the gospel message. Not like just a little invitation, not if you're bored on Saturday, here's something to do. It's really an obligation. And to help us do that, the church has given us sort of like a guideline. And as people, you know, we have spiritual, social, emotional needs, and we have physical, more practical needs. And so the church gives us the spiritual works of mercy and the corporal works of mercy. Pretty self-explanatory, the spiritual ones. And the corporal works of mercy are those practical, hands-on ways that we take care of our physical needs. And this month, we're going to focus on those, the Corporal Works of Mercy. So I'm just going to flip to the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25. And if you have your Breakthrough Bible from last year, this is on page 1602. And it's this section right here called the Judgment of the Nations. Okay, so I'm going to start at verse 34. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. A stranger, and you welcomed me. Naked, and you clothed me. Ill, and you cared for me. In prison, and you visited me." And the righteous will answer him and say, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? When did we see you ill or in prison and visit you?" And the king will say to them in reply, "Amen, I say to you, whatever you did for one of these least brothers of mine, you did for me." So Jesus is pretty clear in letting us know, like, we need to do this. And the positive motivator is when we're doing it for someone else, we're doing it for him. But then if you read down a couple of more verses, this puts a whole different spin on it, at least for me. And Jesus kind of calls us out on what we don't do. And Jesus says, "Amen, I say to you, what you did not do for one of these least ones, you did not do for me." And so for me, that kind of puts a different spin on things. Like when I say I want to help, oh, I would love to volunteer, but I have food shopping, I have to do my laundry, I have to clean the house, I have to run the kids here or there. I'm kind of saying, Jesus, I love you, but I just don't have any time for you. But the Corporal Works of Mercy, it's a great invitation, a great hands-on practical way to love our neighbor and to make time for Jesus. And there's only 7, and they're simple, they're not complicated, they're easy to understand. You might be saying, I don't know how to do all those things, but you know what? It's not complicated. All you need are 2 things. You need a generous heart, and you need a little bit of work. But sit back and watch the rest of this video, and you're going to learn some ways that you can carry out those Corporal Works of Mercy right here at St. John's.
So I'm here today at Ernie's Place. Ernie's Place is our food pantry ministry, and it's been one of the bedrocks of St. John's for years and years and years. Right about now, we serve approximately 500 to 600 people a month at Ernie's Place. And that's individuals or families, so probably even more when we put all the families in. And we've redesigned our food pantry for a couple of reasons. One is we wanted to make more efficient use of this space that's been built up by the parishioners of this parish over the years. And 2, we want to give people some dignity and some honor as they come. You know, we just talked about how hard it is to wash feet and to have your feet washed. It's tough. And so we try to give those who come to us a great experience where they feel like they're coming to the store. And all of this is made happen, or has been able to happen, because of the generosity of the parishioners at St. John's. So people come in, they actually get a shopping cart, believe it or not, and they come in this area here, and we often have donations of bread and sometimes desserts and baked goods, and this is our freezer section, so people get fresh meat or frozen meat or things they can prepare at home, and they get to pick out what they like. So instead of just being given like a bag of food, we try to let them pick what they need for their family and what's best for them. Then after that, they bring their shopping cart back here. And you see all these, you can see the different rows. People literally go shopping all throughout the food pantry. And the only reason we have all of these things is because of you and your families and the parishioners here. So every weekend, people drop off food in the back of the church when they come to Mass, or if they're even just driving by. They drop off food in the big bin outside of Ernie's Place, Ernie's Place is that big gray building behind the church. And that's how these shelves get stocked. and people come with their shopping cart and they go up and down and figure out what they need for their family. That's one of the ways we feed the hungry and we give drink to the thirsty. And every week we have a couple hours when the pantry's open for guests, and then we have volunteers who come in here and sort all of this. So if you notice, it's kind of like pretty organized and pretty neat, because you want to come to a place that's neat and well cared for, because it says that you're important to us. And those who are in need are really important to us, and they were really important to Jesus too. So let's see a few other places where this stuff is happening and how you might be able to be part of it. So we showed you all Ernie's place. That's one of the places that we feed the hungry and give drink to the thirsty. Another one of those Corporal Works of Mercy is to clothe the naked, to care for those who don't have enough. And that's one of the works here of the thrift shop ministry. So we're here on a Monday, and on Mondays and Tuesdays, they sort all of the donations you bring in those green bins. Now let me just tell you, only put those donations in the green bins, don't leave them outside. It makes me crazy. But what they do on Mondays and Tuesdays is they sort all these clothes and other items that people in need might be able to use and to get at a reduced price. Sometimes people come who are very much in need, and sometimes people come because they just like to go to thrift shops or find a good bargain or look for something. And then all the money that we raise through the thrift shop helps us to do all the other things we can do for the poor and those in need. To help people without, maybe a place to live, or to help people with in the midst of a difficult time, or even to care for people at the end of life. All the different works that the parish takes on, the thrift shop helps to make that happen. And it would never happen without some of the amazing people behind me and behind the camera who work so hard to make the thrift shop a place of great welcome. Here's another way you could wash feet here at St. John the Evangelist. But there's even more to come. All right, you might think Father John has lost his mind. What is he doing hanging out with these chickens? Well, this is our chicken ministry, and that's actually part of parish social ministry. So believe it or not, what the chickens do, we raise the chickens, and volunteers help every day. They're called chicken tenders, and they come and pick up the eggs that the chickens lay and feed the chickens and make sure they have what they need. And all of those eggs go to Ernie's Place, our food pantry ministry that we saw a few minutes ago. And those who come to the pantry get fresh eggs. And I have to tell you, as someone who's volunteered in the pantry a little bit, people are so grateful that we take this effort to do this. And we're able to help those who are in need. And we don't just give them leftovers, but we give them some of the best things we got. So friends, this is another way we wash feet here at St. John's. This is one of the street ministry sorting rooms. And this is where we do all of the clothing for the street ministry. And you can kind of see, it looks a little rough, that people don't really come in here. This is where we prepare everything to go out in the street ministry van. And so one night a week, members of the parish, and once you're in 9th grade, you can even probably go out if a mom and dad will come with you, prepare tons of these crates. If you look around, you can see in front of me here, all with different sizes of clothes for people who come to meet us at the different sites that we go to. All of the clothes that we have here, all of the meals that we give people, all of the items that we're able to share with those in need, they all come from you. They come from parishioners and families who give sometimes what's extra. So like, do I need all 5 of my hoodies, or do I need all 27 of my hats, or do I need all those coats or sneakers or shoes or t-shirts? And then sometimes other people just go out and say, I know the street ministry needs these things. I'm going to go use my money to help those in need. And every week, on average, we serve about 70 to 80 people at some different sites throughout the community, carrying out those Corporal Works of Mercy, washing feet. And the truth be told, that's not always easy. Because, sometimes people come and they're not in the best shape. And sometimes people come and they maybe haven't had a shower in weeks. And sometimes people come and they can be a little bit rough, because you try living on the streets for a couple of weeks, you're going to get a little rough. But that still doesn't negate or tell us that we shouldn't wash feet. Those are the feet we got to go wash even more, because they need to know that love of Jesus too. So think of something like the street ministry. How could you wash feet? Well, already you can donate clothes. Maybe you could help to run us a drive in your school or community. I know school's a little hard these days. Maybe you can help make some of the meals or make sandwiches. All of those ways you can help to wash feet and care for God's people. All right? So let's keep going. We've got even more to show you. So I'm here in the Red Barn. Right? And the Red Barn is kind of where the thrift shop is near. It's where the street ministry sorting room is. It's where our parish social ministry offices are, where people come for individual appointments to meet with volunteers who might be able to help them. It's where St. Vincent de Paul meets, who organizes a furniture outreach and does home visits for people who maybe couldn't get here for some help. And I want to tell you about something else that happens here. Every day at St. John's, we have 12-step recovery meetings. Now, that's an incredible experience of washing feet. See, people who come to 12-step recovery meetings are usually involved in something that is kind of tough and maybe has gotten out of control in their life. So maybe alcohol has become too much for them, or maybe the use of drugs has become too much for them. And in other places, maybe gambling or eating too much, or things involved with decisions that just aren't good with our bodies. And the 12-step meetings really are about people coming and admitting that they need to have their feet washed. And they come admitting that they're broken, and other people who've been through similar experiences kind of help them out. So at St. John's, every morning at 6:45, there's a group of people who meet here in this room to really help each other get through the day, to help them make the next right decision, to kind of live as they know they're called to live. We have groups for people who are in different stages of recovery in terms of using alcohol and trying not to use alcohol anymore. We have groups that help people who deal with issues related to drug use so that they could find some help and support. And it happens in very simple spaces like this. So washing feet doesn't always need to be about a program or a donation or an action. Sometimes it's just about walking with someone else. I don't know who comes to these meetings because they're private and confidential, but every time I ever walk by, I say, wow, those are some pretty amazing saints in that room, because they're brave enough to admit they need some help, kind of like Peter had to do in this gospel, and they're willing to help one another. So I'm here in the Giving Garden. This was built by a student from Center Merchants High School as part of his Eagle Scout project. And this garden, now I know it doesn't look too impressive right now, I get it. We've kind of just harvested everything out of it. But this garden from really I'd say March or April all the way through about September, October is overrun with fruits and vegetables for those in need. And so just like the chicken ministry, all of the things that we grow here and care for here go into the hands of those who are in need. You know, the truth is, in pantries we're used to giving out canned goods and things like that, and that's all great, but sometimes those things aren't the healthiest, you know. I love a can of SpaghettiOs, but it's just not good for you. So here we grow everything from tomatoes to zucchini to basil to a whole bunch of stuff that we give to those who come to Ernie's place. And just like when they get those fresh eggs, they feel so good that the people of this parish made sure they had the best things and the good things. And those are ways you can be involved. There's no reason you and your family can't help wash feet by taking care of the garden in the spring and in the summer. All right, there's no reason you can't help to pick vegetables and bring them to the pantry so that those who are in need have all that they need to get through the day. I'm going to tell you a secret too. Are you listening? Sometimes I catch Father Felix in here, and he's not helping out. He's taking the vegetables he likes to cook, and he tells me they're very, very, very good. All right? So this is another way to wash feet, a different way, but part of the work of the parish to care for those who are in need and those who are vulnerable. Another way to feed the hungry and to care for those in need. So I was attacked by a group of fourth graders on the way from the Giving Garden, and now they're holding me hostage. No, I'm kidding. So these are some of my fourth grade friends from Old QA, and we're in another part of the street ministry space. So here are the egg crates that people donate for all those eggs from the chickens that I was talking to you about. And then every Thursday right now, because of the pandemic, we ask people to help make food from home safely and drop it off. And so the street ministry is always taking donations of things like waters and snacks, and donations of people like Kate, no, I'm kidding, like snacks and those kinds of materials like fruit bars and stuff. And then also, people come every, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday, they sign up and they take a bunch of these tins and they go home and they make a certain meal. So like either chicken parm or meatballs and pasta or whatever the menu is. And then they drop them off and they leave them in coolers outside of the convent building. And that's what gets into the hands of those who are in need. And that's washing feet. So there are a lot of people maybe who don't feel safe, you know, going out to minister to the homeless. Totally understandable because of all that's going on. Maybe some people couldn't come to a place like this because they're older and maybe moving around is tough. So this is another way for people to wash feet. And there's no reason that you and your family can't do something like this, where you can't donate some of the items like that you see around me. You can't borrow those gloves. You can't pick up some gloves and make some sandwiches at home, or you can't consider making meals. And those are all the small things that we do to wash feet and to care for one another. another way we live out these Corporal Works of Mercy here at St. John the Evangelist. Hey everybody, so I'm here in the Parish Outreach Office, and this is probably not an office you would really see too often. It's where people would come maybe when they're in need of help in the life of the community, and they would come to meet one of our case managers or our volunteers to see how the parish might be able to support them. You know, it involves sometimes helping people with where they live, helping people with food and clothing, helping people with some resources. And like right now we're recording this in November, like helping people around Thanksgiving and Christmas and trying to get that work together. That all happens here in the Parish Social Ministry or Parish Outreach Office. And you know, one of the things that I'm always aware of is how hard it must be for people to come to this office. You know, to kind of admit, hey, I need some help. And that's pretty overwhelming. I'm here today with Joe Conklin. Joe helps out in the school as part of the social work office, and he also is part of the Project Alpha program in the Diocese of Rockville-Center. And Joe, we're talking about the Gospel of John, you know, and the famous story where Jesus washes the disciples' feet. And there's one point, you guys know this because you've been reading it, when Jesus meets Peter, you know, he goes to wash Peter's feet, like that act of service, and Peter is just like, you can't do this. I have to do this for you. You know, what do you think some of the challenges are to be able to ask for help? Like, what makes it hard for people to?
I can relate like so much to Peter there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you chose me for that reason, but I didn't read it myself either recently. But I'm glad you brought it up.
Well, Joe, we have this nice video for level 8 that we could share with you. You could watch the whole thing.
I am looking forward to watching.
I'm sure you are.
But in all seriousness, that is something I struggle with the majority of my life. I am someone who would much rather help you and focus on your issues. And I found out that through the work, mostly, is that in order to properly help others, I need to help myself. And I think at one point in my life, I viewed it as a weakness in order, you know, asking for help. And now it is someone's greatest strength. Like the strongest people in my life are those that are able to gain the humility to ask for help. And I pride myself in saying I need help because we all know that we need help. We can't do this alone. Yeah. But that was not easy for me to get to that place.
No, I don't think for any of us, right? You know, because we kind of live in a world that says, I'll kind of do this on my own and we can take care of it and we'll just do it myself. And, you know, and to kind of, one of the lessons I think of this 13th chapter of John's Gospel is, you know, to find the people who can help me. Like, some of the safe spaces. Like I'm thinking of middle school students in middle school. Like where are some of you think some of the good safe spaces for them, even in the work that you do?
Well, hopefully my office, hopefully the social work office, and I mean our goal is to kind of make every classroom that safe place. But I would say the adults there would hopefully cultivate a safe place for students to come to.
And certainly in the life of the parish, you know, many safe spaces here too. You know, a lot of times we think the church just gives out and does those programs that we've been talking about today. But also a place where people can come when they're in need of support or help. Hopefully soon you'll meet your faith sharing group leader. That might be a good person to talk to. It might be Michelle, our director of faith formation. It might be people like you and me. It might be, like you mentioned, people in their schools or good coaches or good mentors. But we can never ever be afraid to have our feet washed, right?
Right.
Because that's how you get good at that's how you get good at washing feet, is by allowing people to take care of you. It's how you get good at service, as Jesus would want, by allowing Jesus to kind of heal and to bring us some peace sometimes through his people. Yeah. All right, Joe, I have to get you that Bible so you can start reading this passage. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely, right. Father. You got me on record too.
I do. All right, let's head to the church. See you later.
Okay.
We've got a lot to think about in this video as we reflect on the beginning of the 13th chapter of the Gospel of John. And so, you know, I gather here in the church. We're going to conclude the video here. And this is where we read the scriptures from all the time. This is the ambo. And so when you come to Mass or the prayer services we have, we always read the scriptures from here. And so we're going to listen today to that Gospel again. And I'm reading from a different book, not your Breakthrough Bible. This is called the Lectionary. And the church kind of puts all the readings that we need in the lectionary. And that's where we read from today. So this is a reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. And usually when we do that, we say, "Glory to you, O Lord." And we make the sign of the cross on our forehead, on our lips, and over our heart. And we say, may the Lord be always on our minds, on our lips, and in our heart. Before the feast of Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to pass from this world to the Father. He loved his own in the world, and he loved them to the end. The devil had already induced Judas, son of Simon the Iscariot, to hand him over. So during supper, fully aware that the Father had put everything into his power, and he'd come from God and was returning to God, he rose from supper and took off his outer garments. He took a towel and tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and dry them with the towel around his waist. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Master, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered and said to him, "What I am doing you do not understand now, but you'll understand later." Peter said to him, "You'll never wash my feet." Jesus answered him, "Unless I wash you, you'll have no inheritance with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Master, then not only my feet, but my hands and my head as well." Jesus said to him, "Whoever has bathed has no need except to have his feet washed, for he's clean all over. So you are clean, but not all." For he knew who would betray him, and for this reason he said, "Not all of you are clean." So when he'd washed their feet and put his garments back on, he reclined at table again. He said to them, "Do you realize what I've done for you? You call me teacher and master, and rightly so, for indeed I am. If I therefore, the master and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash one another's feet. I've given you a model to follow, so that as I have done, you should also do." The Gospel of the Lord. And we say, praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. You know, I've been a priest for almost 9 years. December 3rd will be my 9-year anniversary as a priest. And one of my favorite masses, anybody saying, "Father John, you really have a favorite mass?" I do. And it's not Christmas, and it's not Easter. It's actually Holy Thursday night. And that's the beginning of the Sacred Triduum, where we remember Jesus' death and resurrection. And in the Gospel of John, he doesn't have a story of Jesus kind of being around a table, like we're used to hearing, like the Last Supper meal. Rather, in the Gospel of John, he only has this story about Jesus washing feet. And during the Holy Thursday night Mass, we actually wash people's feet. We call it the mandatum, and it's a reminder of our call to be people of service. Not simply service to do what we want to do or just to get hours for an organization or school, which is not bad, but our call to service because we're disciples of Jesus Christ. And sometimes that means washing feet. It means doing things that may not be the things we want to do and may be uncomfortable or not so easy to get through. And so as we kind of conclude our reflection today about this 13th chapter of the Gospel of John, start to think a little bit. Start to think about maybe where do you need to wash some feet? Is there someone you need to reach out to? Is there someone you need to just be kinder to? Is there an organization maybe here at St. John's that you've seen that you want to get more involved in? To start to move out of yourself and to be more for God and others. That's the disciple. That's the confirmed member of the church. And so maybe this Holy Thursday coming up, I don't know what we'll be like in terms of how we pray or where we'll pray and all that stuff, but I'm hoping maybe you can come to that Mass. And I think it'll be April 1st, 2021, April Fool's Day. And be part of that liturgy where we literally go around the church and are reminded of our call to serve one another.